Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Black Box Podcast. Today we are revisiting the mystery of the disappearance of Andrew Gosden, who disappeared in 2007 in London. And I did a previous upload on this one called Andrew Gosden Suicide Theory, which I promoted something that I've been sort of feeling about since the very beginning, that this teenager went to London in 2007 to commit suicide. And if you haven't heard that one first, yeah, the name of the first part is Andrew Gosden's Suicide Theory. And originally that was only intended to be sort of a one-part podcast on this case. I was only intending to do one part. However, to be honest, some people have a change of heart, some people change their mind. I can't really say that, but I've really just had a lot of different feeling about the case lately. And the real reason was I was listening over again to the recording that I had done on Andrew Gosden's Suicide Theory, and I was just like, what have I been talking about? What have I been thinking for all these years? I mean, it just seems so obvious once I revisited the information. And the thing that I have to admit is, all of the points that I would sort of put in favor of suicide could equally be just put in favor of somebody trying to run away. Really, in the sense that this could just be a runaway case. The things that I put up in favor, sort of the argument for rather than in favor, argument for would be Andrew completely depleted his bank account, brought it down to zero. He left home without bringing his PlayStation portable charger, and he bought a one-way ticket, and he brought very few things with him, and he made no effort to contact the family again, no definitive sightings since 2007. Guess what? All of those things can be supportive of a runaway theory, and those don't necessarily, that's really not enough hard evidence to say that it was a suicide. For example, during the first recording, I did know this, that his father had made the comment that he was not very good when it came to packing things, and he was not very responsible when it came to packing things, and the family did all the packing for him, and he couldn't even pack his own toothbrush for the family vacations and such. So, the fact that he didn't bring a PlayStation charger with him on the train, by his father's words, that was like not abnormal for him. He forgot lots of things. And also, it's like, I was a very strong supporter of suicide, because there was nobody saying that he took an enormous amount of his personal items with him. He did not take many shirts and many pairs of underwear and all those things, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, he did have money with him. Supposedly, he had, over 100 pounds with him by the time that he got to London. And when you see the video of him walking out of the station, he still had over 100 pounds, maybe 130 if we're going to just sort of speculate. So that would be like 260 US dollars. That's, maybe in the mind of a teenager, that probably could get you somewhere or something, and you probably think you could support yourself for a while with that. However, I'm really forced to admit that everything that I put forward in favor of suicide is just like, it could very easily just be a case of a teenager who tried to run away and then met some unfortunate event, and it's like, I really have to admit that the fact that he bought the one-way ticket, that could be easily interpreted as someone who was suicidal, or someone who just did not want to be at home and wanted to go to a different part of the country. For example, it's like, I really, not for example, I should say, sort of to elaborate, I really believe that he was trying to leave and never to return. I don't see any sign of any way you could interpret the evidence that he was planning to come back. Because, if he is not very good about packing his things, then the PlayStation Portable charger doesn't really mean a whole lot. And furthermore, I mean, maybe he knew where to buy them. Maybe he knew, like, I mean, are these things very easily available at a place like Walmart, or I guess Asda if you're in the UK? Is that what you guys call that place? I forget. But anyway, that's not necessarily hard evidence that, it would have been a suicide or anything. I mean, people forget things. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the short story. Even if you are very detailed and very diligent and you're very, someone who's very aware of everything that you're packing for a trip, you can forget things. After all, we're only human, right? So just because someone didn't bring a charger, I was really looking into that in the completely wrong angle. That could be a lot of things. That really could just mean that somebody forgot. I interpreted it as somebody didn't care and didn't bother to bring it, and the video games were very important to him. That was his biggest source of entertainment. However, if we're only just going by the facts, all there is just there's a charger left at home. That's it. He didn't leave a suicide note, and he also didn't leave any indication that he wasn't coming back. However, he didn't buy the return ticket, which was only 50 pence more. He brought his bank account down to zero. And those two things alone tell me that, this person really wanted to get far away, and that does not show a very large sign of someone trying to come home. Like I said, the bank account is something that really stands out for me. If you had any intention at all of returning, why would you bring an account down to zero? I mean, you think you would leave something there, but as far as running away, though, is Andrew still alive? I wish I had an answer for that. It's very difficult to say what happened. My first instinct is no. However, that's not very hard evidence. That's just sort of more of a gut feeling. However, if this guy were running away, he had that very distinct double ridge in his ear, which was very easily identifiable. And I thought, in the first podcast, I sort of said that I thought that someone probably would have identified him by then, and that's a ridiculous thing for me to say. I mean, we have people missing for years and years. I mean, all the missing children in America, and no one is really able to give any definitive sighting on them, no matter how distinct their appearances are. And also, the other thing that I have to admit is just, if this guy knew that he had, some type of distinct mark on his ear, he would just try and hide it, He would wear a hat that covered his ears. We have the technology. It's like, if I were Andrew Gosden and I were running away and I saw a poster of myself and then a poster of my ear, because his ear was put on the missing persons poster, and that's why I said it's so easily identifiable. And not my words first, that's some more of the YouTube community was talking about that. But yeah, his ear was featured on the missing persons poster. If I had any inclination that that was out there, I would be covering my ears every second that I went outside, and I would be drastically changing my appearance every second that I was out in public. So the truth is, we don't know what happened to Andrew after he left the train station. However, this could very well possibly be a teenager just trying to run away, just trying to get to a different part of the country, with no intention to return. I mean, runaways do exist. And it's like, if I have to give my personal feeling, though, I still am inclined to say that I don't believe he is alive. And a lot of that, is just sort of like, I just feel that it's really just a gut feeling. I mean, however, though, if we're going to interpret the evidence, what really is there to say after that, after he's disappeared? I mean, any possible thing could have happened, because if we don't have a definitive sighting, there is very little evidence. And if we don't have any sort of conclusion like a cause of death or locating his whereabouts, then it is all speculation. And we see this in a lot of true crime cases. Maybe you can even think of a few. A couple come to my mind immediately. So it's very difficult to talk about what happened to him after he disappeared, but I think what we do have evidence to support is the day that he went missing, what happened in the lead up to him getting on that train and walking out to London. So, for that, I could very well see this as a case of a runaway, of a kid just trying to run away from home, and even if he has no distinct plan on where he's going after he gets out of those doors, he's just trying to get away. And that is the sort of core point that I would still hold from my original theory. This person is just feeling very bad at home, and they have no intention to return, and they just need to get away. They want to be far away from this place that is making them feel bad, and they need to get out. I definitely do not see any signs that he wanted to come back, and this is an escape plan. And I really do full-heartedly believe that, and I think the evidence would support that. I don't see any evidence saying that he was going to meet anyone or he had any sort of connections to host him in London, like anything there that he would find, but maybe he did know something about a place where to go. We can always keep that in mind. Again, see, that's all speculation. The facts are, he boarded the train with all of his money and a one-way ticket, and again, I almost tried to retract it earlier, but he had very few things with him. And that sort of tells me someone who's just trying to leave everything behind. They're trying to leave their life behind. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a suicide case. It could be just someone who's trying to escape from home. And that's all I can really say now. And if anyone else has any additional information, or any sort of viewpoints, any gut feelings, any just more information on the case, anything you want to discuss, I want to hear it. Please, just say anything at all. I think it helps. The only way we get answers to these things is if we can keep discussing them and see if we can come up with something that makes sense, and hopefully expanding the discussion will just help in some way. Well, that's all for now, and talk to you soon.